What's good, y'all, man? It's breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news, Jahan Doctson traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a third and seventh round pick. So we wanted to bring y'all breaking news, man. This is our first breaking news special ever. Here,
Ever.
ever
Two
here
seventh
on the
rounds.
Nation
Two seventh rounds.
here on the Nation Sports Podcast, man. Two, our breaking news joint. So without further ado, we're gonna bring the guys in. What y'all think? What y'all think? Sending around the room.
I go last. I know. I'm probably a dislike person right now, so I'm gonna
Um,
go last.
I'll say I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna break it down into two simple parts. I'm not gonna make this more difficult than it has to be. Um, First of all, I'll say it was a lot of speculation in his camp that he wasn't doing too good during camp and everything. So, with that being said, uh, I think that's what led one of the things that might have led to his demise here as a Redskin slash commander, watching football team, whatever y'all call it. Also to having bad leadership as well to couple that with. I think it was just came to a head, and it unfortunately that head came to uh Eagles office, in the process. The second part of it is it's going to infuriate the man, and it's going to make him mad. He's going to want to be much better player than what he was here in Washington, and I just think it's going to come back to bite us in the Uranus. So that's just my simple thoughts on it, and that's just how I feel. I wish him the best of luck. Even though he is with the Eagles, it is what it is now.
All right. I don't wish him the best of luck because he's with the Eagles, right? But I don't blame him for being with the Eagles either. Y'all know what I've said from day one. All you guys know, the whole crew know. I said from day one when I found out that Josh Harris, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles at the time, was going to purchase the
76ers.
Washington 76ers. Yeah, you're right. Owner of the Philadelphia 76ers at the time was going to purchase the Washington Redskins. That's what I call them. Y'all know that. So when I found that out, the first thing I said was, hell no, because it's a conflict of interest. That man got so many connections in Philly. He got a heart for Philly. You've been up there. There's no way you connected to that community. They love the Eagles. So I felt like it was a massive, massive, massive conflict of interest. And because it's the NBA. So normally a lot of the same people who watch the NBA watch the NFL. A lot of them. Not saying all, but a lot. So I just felt like these were the same fans. The fans for the Sixers are probably Eagle fans too. Just like a lot of Redskin fans, even, some of the Cowboy fans are what? Wizards fans. Some of them are not. I am not. I'm a Bulls fan. But you got most of us are Wizards fans here. So I just felt like it's the same fan base. So I just felt like it was a massive, massive conflict of interest because stuff like this. Since Josh, over the last, let's say 2 months, since the draft, we have traded with Philly twice. We gave them a first round pick, which turned into that cornerback they got, a really good guy. I forgot his name. It's really good. That corner, first round pick is a cornerback. He's really good. A lot of people say he's the best corner in the draft. A lot of people say that, right? So that turned into him. We traded with them. They got their cornerback. Now we trade with him and give them Jahan Doctson. Yes, we get picks, but we give them Jahan Doctson. So they've gotten from us a first round pick, cornerback, and Jahan Doctson. I personally think this is the reason why I say from day one, I did not want Josh Harris as owner because we should not be empowering a team that's in our division. I don't see good teams doing that. I don't see the Ravens and Steelers trading. I don't see the Chiefs and Chargers trading. I don't see the Dolphins and the Bills trading. I just don't see that. I don't see that. So for us to be doing it, either we're about to tank and we don't expect to win this year, in my opinion, just my opinion, either we're about to tank and we don't expect to win this year, or we are trying to empower the Eagles in some sort of way, funny type of way. I don't like either of it, you know. So this ain't even about Doctson. If y'all were going to trade Doctson, fine, trade him. Whatever, if that's your decision. I don't even agree with that. I just think I personally wanted to see what he could do with Jaden Daniels. That was just me, you know. I just wanted to see. So I didn't even agree with the trade. However, if that's what you're going to do, do it. Now, you don't trade him to the Eagles if you are going to damn trade him. I wouldn't even have traded him in a conference. It would have been outside of the conference because I believe in his skill set. So again, everybody can feel the way I know. Me personally, I feel some type of way that the trade partner was the Philadelphia Eagles. I am massively fearful that this is a tank season, and I am massively fearful that Josh Harris is the mole that I said he was. The guys will tell you, I let the shit go. Excuse my language, everybody. Oh, I didn't mean to say it. I let it go. 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 I didn't even say nothing about it. I let it go through the whole summer, through the draft. I let it go. And he just reminded me. He reminded me of why, man, why we are still in this scenario with a Philadelphia Eagle as the daggone owner. So we are now the Washington Eagles. Whenever I see moves like that, this is a Washington Eagle move. Thank you, Josh Harris. Go ahead, Vito. My man.
All right, so I'd like to just present a little bit of statistics with this. I already looked them up. If you don't mind giving the fans a little bit, can you look up Jahan Dotson's stats with the Washington Redskins / Commanders?
Got you. Doing it now. Give me a second.
While you do that, I'll go over my take real quick. I do feel a 50-50 way about this. My 50 that I disagree with is the fact that we made the trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. I do agree with that with the team. I don't disagree with that. But my butt makes my other 50 turn into about a 55, 45, 60, 40. And I'll give my example then once we pull up the stats. While we go into the stats, I'll state that Jahan Dotson, I did believe in as a first-round draft pick with the Washington Commanders. I do think that he was a piece that was underused last year. When we went back and looked at some film or some of the games were replaying while the show was going on for the 24-hour series, a lot of the games he was losing focus in and dropped some key passes at some key downs, and that was unlike his first 2 years in performance. There were a couple of injuries that set him back a little bit, but I don't think he's received any injuries that were like career threatening or anything like that. So, but when he was on the field, he was productive in his first 2 years in a way that I saw promise. The release of Curtis Samuels this year was a big notion that Jahan Dotson was going to have to step up. Either we were going to select a number 2 receiver in the draft, which would have still been a rookie, which Rowe, even though he wanted certain players, also said that we didn't know what we were going to get from them. Outside of a Marvin Harrison Jr., which we all expect to be a bright star in the league soon, you really didn't know what you were going to get outside of pairing up certain receivers with Jaden Daniels once you made the selection. So outside of having a consistent Curtis Samuels and a reliable Terry McLaurin, you just didn't know what you were going to get from the wide receiver position, period. And with that said, Jahan was a valuable piece coming into the season, but media and some of the speculation was that he was going to be a number 2 receiver. Being a number 2 receiver, saying as though that he never reached a great mark in the. Let's go look at this. Look at the first year is how many yards for the first year? 700.
First year is 500. Hold on. Yeah, first year is 2022 was 523 on 35 receptions. And 2023 was 49 receptions for 518, 7 touchdowns in the first year, 4 touchdowns in the second.
Okay, and then last year.
No, that was the first year. No, I did both years.
Okay, yeah. So that's both years.
2022, the first year, 35 receptions, 523, 14-yard average, and 7 touchdowns. That's the 2022.
So, what I assume, and I looked at again what the Eagles like to do, taking away any team getting turnovers, because that always leads to more possessions. But I just look at the average game for the Eagles. The first year that they played, that they went to the Super Bowl, I think they averaged a little over 29 points a game. I think last year was about 24 ish, 25 or something like that, 26 points a game. And not that I think that they're going to be lower in scoring points per game, but I just used those 2 seasons as an average. And I looked at their 2 number 3 receivers, that being Zacchaeus and that being Quez Watkins, depending on whether one of those guys were injured or just positions or formations or whatever the case may be. Their third leading receiver outside of Antonio Brown and Devontae Smith has been Goddard for the last couple of seasons. On top of that, their third receivers have never received more than 40 receptions for them to, for at least for me to feel like I would be threatened by what Jahan Doctson can offer the Eagles on a right now, you know what I'm saying, scenario. Does that mean that he can't be productive in their offense? No. Does that mean that he can't reach his potential in some way in that situation? That does not mean that. I just don't know if he gets the production because of how many players need the football in that offense. So the part that made me lean towards not seeing this as bad of a move outside of the fact that it's with the Philadelphia Eagles is the fact that, one, we don't know how many people were interested in a trade in this amount of time coming into week 1. We have one preseason game left, and you have to find a definitive number 2, and you drafted a receiver that was supposed to be your number 3 receiver anyway. So Dotson was going to move to the 2, and it was going to be between De'Ami Brown, Crowder, and McCaffrey to be your number 3. So if Dotson doesn't play the number 2 well, you now drafted a number 3 receiver for no reason if you leave Dotson in that same spot, unless that's the player that you sub out on multiple occasions to put a different look there, or you leave him and have another receiver on the field just to combo with. So again, you're still looking at a possible, just a possible, in theory, a possible 50 to 55 catch season in a good way. You know what I'm saying? He had 35 in his first year, 49 last year. And he dropped a lot of passes and missed some targets last year. So let's say that that's a 60 catch season. That's a really good year, but you still maybe are jumping up from that 500, 530 to about 700, 750 yards, which is good. But at a number 2 receiver, those are numbers that you didn't like, Ro, that a number of us said that we feel like you need a little bit more production from that number 2 spot. Why they were interested in looking at an Ayuk and looking at some other options during free agency. So if Dotson is not your guy, it's right to make the move right now to give your team enough chance and your quarterback to get enough chance to be acclimated with who's going to be there. Remember, I stated very early in the broadcast, since the season started, that that's the point of the preseason, to evaluate what you have and what you need to do going forward. Dotson just did not, and again, like I said, it was brought up in interviews or in press from the coach that, hey, we need you to step up. We need you to do a little bit more. We're not necessarily happy with the production that we've gotten right now. We need you to basically do more. If that doesn't motivate a player when they're saying, hey, we're looking at you to do A, B, and C, we expect you to be able to have this type of season this year. And if you're not able to step up to that, or that doesn't motivate you, I don't think trading you motivates you when you were needed this year to be motivated, because it's a contract year as well. So I think he should have came out lights on, blazing saddles, and ready to ball out, because it's time to get paid in an individual aspect. And as a team aspect, this is a year where everyone's comfortable with the quarterback that you guys got and not feeling like it's a mystery. I also want to point out for the last thing that if everyone goes to the Jahan Dotson interview during OTAs or during training camp, all right, McLaurin interview, and then go to Jahan Dotson's interview, McLaurin is high, and I mean high. Outside of the other coaches and the coaching staff talking about Jaden Daniels, they are very high on Jaden Daniels and his mature approach to how he's preparing. They were high on his development. They were high on his accuracy. They were high on his ball placement. Jahan Doctson was high on another quarterback, or not high on them, but Jahan Doctson just mentioned another quarterback. He wasn't raving the same way that the players and the coaches were about Jahan Doctson. He didn't say anything bad. I mean, about Jaden Daniels. He did not say anything bad at all. But he wasn't as high and sold on it, in my opinion, as everyone else. There could be some disconnect. There could be some feel that I am not going to get targeted the way I need to reach the contract that I may like. There could be a number of things. I don't want to make up that scenario, but I do know from what I watched, from OTAs to training camp to those practices to being on the field, which is what I said before all of this happened, with Josh Hirsch, with Adam Peters, with Dan Quinn, with what they've said in interviews and the players that we've selected. I need to see this on the field. And on the field, De'Ami Brown, someone who I barely saw in the last 3 seasons, has stepped up to a point that it looks like he's made that I want to be the number 2 receiver. Look, he's made that approach. He's made that effort. And I've seen that. And again, we have to see him against number 1 corners or number 2 corners in a regular season game. But it looks like he's done the work. And even if this is against the second string or maybe the third cornerback, it still looked like he did the work when Jahan was going up against the same thing in those positions and didn't win those battles, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. We got Point, man. What you got, Point?
So look, I got a couple different takes on this, right? First and foremost, before I say anything, I'm going to say I do not like trading to the Philadelphia Eagles. No matter what. I don't care what's going on. Do not trade into your division, especially real talent. So I'm upset with the fact that we have traded not only a first round pick, but now also a first round grade player. Okay? That's not exactly what I want to do as a fan of an organization, right?
Right, right. I'm with you. I'm with you. Definitely
Hey,
with
bro,
you.
bro, while Leo going, can you look up that draft class, any of the first round receivers that were picked in the same year Jahan Dotson was, or I will do it. But you look at any of the production from those receivers from that draft class in the first round, and you're very likely to see that a guy that's in the first round has either moved up on their depth chart or they have more yards than 500 yards in multiple
Olave.
seasons.
He said Olave. Danny said, shout out to Danny, man. Danny said Olave.
Right, exactly. Olave is Olave in one season has all of Jahan Dotson's numbers in 1 year. They let go of their number 1 receiver because a receiver picked in that same draft, not too many picks before him, literally has let go of Mike Thomas so that he can be their number 1 receiver. That's what you expect for a number 1 pick, which Roe argued for, whether we convinced
Yeah.
you of it or not, Roe. This is what you argued. Were we going to
Can you
get that production from
can you
that
hear me?
player?
Yeah, we got
Can
you.
y'all hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So my thing is that I look at it like I don't like trading him to Philly. If you're going to trade him to Pennsylvania, you should have traded him to a team that needs a receiver, which is the Steelers. Okay? If you're going to trade him to Pennsylvania, trade him to the Steelers. Okay? That's the easy pass. Right
That's
there.
true.
You
That's
get
true.
him to the area that he wants to be in. You get him out of the conference, you get him out of the division, and you trade him to the Steelers. Okay? They need a receiver anyway. If you were going to trade him in the conference, then guess what? It's a guy that wanted to play for your organization that's been hinting at where he wants to
Oh,
be.
I just thought about something,
If
y'all.
you are going to trade
Saquon.
him, why
Saquon
don't
pulled that. Him and Saquon played together.
yeah?
Mm, mm.
So my thing is, is that if you are going to do that, right? If you are going to do that, then why not trade him for Brandon Ayuk and pay Brandon Ayuk, even if it's for 2 seasons? Say, hey, look, we want to bring you in. We're going to pay you top dollar for the next 2 seasons. You know what I'm saying? To make sure you paying out. Why not do that? Because that makes more sense. You get a replacement for that number 2 receiver. you get some help in your receiver room, it makes more sense to do this. The fact that you didn't trade for Brandon Ayuk, you traded him to Philly, you traded him to in the division, I don't like. Okay. As far as trading him, I understand he lost in Kent. Okay, cool. De'Ami Brown beat him out. That's fine. De'Ami Brown maybe turning that curve. Maybe Sam Howell was holding De'Ami Brown back. The relationship with Sam Howell, because Sam Howell was his college quarterback. Maybe they thought they was going to have like a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase type of situation, you know? And that would make a lot of sense. But it didn't work out that way, and I think that may have hindered both of those guys. Separating them might help both of them, you know? It might help De'Ami Brown, and it might also help Sam Howell.
Well, I have another curveball that
So,
everybody is not waiting for in all of this mess.
I
You,
think we will be trading for Brandon Ayuk or somebody like that. I think we will trade for another number two receiver. I don't think that we have liked what we got so far, but I wish they would have done this already. I wish they would have done this during the draft day. You know, if you want to trade Jahan, trade him during draft day, move up into that first pick, go get a Brian Thomas. Go after something for real, substantial.
Higgins, he said, Donnie said Higgins or IU.
Ayuk. Ayuk.
I got another curveball for y'all. While we talk about this, if we remember last year, matter of fact, me and Vito was on the phone. Me and Vito was, or no, we was in the text. Me and Vito was going back and forth in the group text. We was literally saying, Vito was like, they just got rid of Swift. I was like, well, if they just got rid of Swift, they might as well go on and get rid of Young. I'm telling y'all now, Allen is next on the list. Allen will be the
I
next
don't think
guy
so.
out of here. Nah, I'm telling you, watch. He breaking this thing
I'm not
up.
gonna,
Allen is gonna be the
I'm
next
a,
guy out of
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Promise you.
I'm
no.
not gonna say
I,
no.
I
I'm not gonna say no.
what I heard from
He's gutting
see,
the team.
I
All
didn't
turns, he's
hear.
gutting the team.
Listen. Adam Peters, right, himself, when talked about when asked about Jonathan Allen, right, he
Yeah.
said specifically, we are not trading him. He is not. Basically, he's not available for trade. Straight up like
Oh,
that. Straight
oh.
up like that.
I don't trust him.
No,
I don't trust him.
when they asked him was he going to change the face of this team when he came in, he said no. I'm gonna keep
Oh
these pieces in place and all that. And what did he do? He turned
Yep,
right around
yep,
and sold off Chase and Young,
yep.
two of the
no,
most
but that's not.
valid threats on defense. Sold them
Listen,
all for a little less than nothing.
that's not Adam Peters. What I'm saying is that Adam Peters specifically,
He
when
said,
after the season, they asked him about Jonathan Allen, and he specifically said that he's not available and we are not trading him. He will not be traded. Basically, he didn't when talked about other pieces. He didn't have that stamp of like, no, he's not. We're not doing that. The only other person I think that he said that about, from what I can hear, was Terry McLaurin. He's not available. Like we're not. No, he's the
All
leader of
right,
our defense.
all right.
okay, so
He's not
Donnie
getting.
He
I think
being
if he's
transparent.
not available, Chase and Sweat shouldn't have been available.
no, but Peters wasn't here. Peters
Yeah, okay.
Peters did not.
I just don't trust
I,
him.
you
I
know
think
what?
Allen
Listen,
is next.
listen, Big Son.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
Listen,
tell
trust
Big
him.
you.
Son. Peters,
I'm
I'm
gonna tell
not.
you what I think.
Peters wasn't here for that.
I agree.
Peters was not here for chasing sweat.
Peters wasn't here for that. I definitely totally agree with that. Right?
Yeah.
Peters wasn't here for that. However,
He wasn't here for that, but look what he just done. Look what type of deal he just made.
Why are y'all saying that like he
I
was a
mean,
Pro Bowler or something like that?
yeah. I
I'm
mean,
No, it's
confused.
not even that. He's a Pro Bowl. Somebody made a deal with the devil. Why are you dealing with the Eagles in any
Yeah.
fashion?
yeah, that's the
Has
problem.
the Eagles won the Super Bowl in the last 2 seasons? No, they haven't.
But they've been.
Yeah.
They
I
haven't,
mean,
They
bro.
win.
Didn't you tell me that it don't count unless you win? So why are
I
we talking
agree, but
about Ben?
they
Ron Rivera
they
went to the Super Bowl and lost. You weren't happy that we picked him as a coach.
they
I'm
have
confused
added
on why we're naming that.
right, but they have
yeah.
added Saquon Barkley. Johan Dawson and Saquon Barkley went to school together. They went to
So
both
what?
state.
They
So
didn't go to school together. They went to the same school.
okay, well, either way, I just don't. think that we should be empowering the Eagles in any fashion.
I agree.
It's a 33 to 50 catch receiver.
Doesn't
It's not something that's going to be detrimental to you right now, I believe. And
No,
you're talking about a team who beat a
I,
tank team by 3 points in 2 games.
hey, nah, but Vito, I will say this. Listen, and I will say this. I do agree with you in the sense of, as far as value of the receiver, we don't look at, like, right now. Just looking at the stats, it's not like we traded a super high value receiver. Okay, so I agree with that. But the thing I don't like is that the one advantage that we had on especially all of our division is that they did not know what we were going to do. Okay,
They
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 didn't,
still don't know what we're going to do.
they
We were
didn't.
running a vanilla package. We have not installed the playbook yet, Leo. It's the
Yeah,
third preseason. It's the
no, we
second
only have.
preseason game.
Listen. Dan Quinn specifically said we only have two more installs. So they
Exactly. You have a
they don't know
basic. You, bruh, where have
they
you
don't
seen? I'm just
they don't
asking.
know. Hold on, bro. They don't know exactly what we're gonna do, but they do know a lot more than what we would like them to know, because at first they didn't know anything. Now they know a little bit.
Y'all act like Cliff Kingsbury never coached in the NFL. If we just said last night that Twitter has been saying, or people have been saying around media, that our offense is going to be bland because this is what Cliff Kingsbury does, I don't understand what we're saying here and not understanding what we've already heard. This
Well,
offense has already been seen in some way by Kyler Murray and Kingsbury when he was the head coach. The only thing that is different now is that he has to just focus on offense. Those two extra installments are things that our starting quarterback can do, who's only been on the field for a matter of about 12 plays.
no, I get it. But what I'm saying is that those are only if we got 80% of the playbook already available, right? Let's say each install was 10% of the playbook, right? So say we did 10 installs. We are in at install 8 right now, and we just gave 8 pieces of our offense to our division foe,
If you
which I
don't
don't
think that the offense is going to grow within the year for a first year
know.
offense for a
It
quarterback
will.
who's never played is
It,
insane.
it will. It will.
Number
But
two, number two,
don't we
I'm
play
trying
really
to tell
early in
y'all.
the year?
Number two, no, we don't. We played them in the second half of the season. On top of that, by the time that time comes around to play them, they're not going to be asking Jahan Dotson, what do the Redskins like to run? Do you know how busy coaches are? They're going to look at the film that the season has already presented them. That's what they're going to have. If they had John Gruden or they had Ron Rivera or one of our old coaches, and they came from this regime, I would be more concerned about that.
Okay, yeah. I will say this. We played them in November, so that won't be as much of an effect on our team. I can agree with that.
Plus, Dotson is going to have to learn their entire offense to try to remember what he was doing in the summertime, when he's going to be responsible for learning what's being told to him right then. And depending on what their injuries are or not, is going to be very important. You know what I'm saying? So we can go
Yeah.
back to the car. So
okay,
I don't even
Donnie.
think that that's going to matter as much.
Let me interject straight quick because we got somebody comment. Donnie said they didn't run anything in the preseason. Cliff Kingsbury just said all the plays would have run we've run in the game are just the base offense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He said you're right,
I'm
week to
just
week installs, but he's only seen it in practice.
I'm telling y'all that
And we
because
say,
we've been
yeah,
fans
Tito
for as
He
stated
long as
said
that.
we
the
have
entire
been,
playbook
because we have
week
been
to week
fans for
for the
over
game.
30 years, because we've all been fans for over 30 years. Us on this show, right? I mean, on the show, they run the show. We've been fans for 30 years. They probably do. You know, so you got to swipe it if you want to. We've been fans for 30 years, so we've
30
seen
plus.
30 plus. So we've seen that you don't do this as far as just trading within the division, trading against rival teams. Yes, that is absolutely facts. I'm not taking
Yeah.
that away from you guys. I'm not arguing that that was wrong. What I'm saying is that in their offense, I don't believe this player presents more. He presented more of a threat in our offense because you don't know what he would have been able to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With us, in comparison to, he only has one role with the Eagles. And guess what, y'all? Because he wasn't beating that many coverages that much, I believe we should know more about him than he knows about us, is what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
I can
Those
agree with
coaches that
that.
came in, the wide receiver coach that we have has been around football forever. If that guy could not cut it in out for our team, I'm not saying that he's not going to cut it in their offense because they have a different scheme. But what I am saying is that He wasn't cutting it, guys. Yes, you don't trade to the Eagles, but I don't see how this benefits the Eagles to unless he has a Pro Bowl type of season from the slot. Now, if that's something that happens, yes, I'd have to eat my words. But I really don't see that happening when we haven't been able to get that type of possibility or potential to say that, you know what, he would have been able to do that, but I'm scared about that trade. I'm looking at
Well,
numbers and I'm
I
looking
would
at
say
what
this.
the
I think he could be productive in the slot. If you think of his rookie season, right? Let's say if he gets back to his rookie season, out of the slot, 7 touchdowns is going to be a lot. It's going to be that. That's
All
that's
right.
that's a good number.
the
Can I
Eagles.
just give y'all this real quick? I'm on
Right.
Mad right now. His rating. Now this is 2024 rating. I don't know what they got him on 25. His rating is 78. Okay. So McLaurin's was 89. Behind him, they had McCaffrey. They don't even have the Army Brown is 72, but Crowder's better than them, but they got Crowder at 4. You see what I'm saying? They got McCaffrey actually starting at 3, and Johnson was going to be at the 2. So now, I mean, essentially, what player that's is the Army going to reach that 78, 79 this season? Do we think that? Are we confident in the Army in that way? I just want to ask that question. Are we confident in the Army that way to be a solid, a solid number 2, bona fide,
I am. I think he could be a solid number 2.
1,100 yards?
Or even no. He's no Devontae Smith is the number 2 out there. That's the first thing.
No, I'm talking about the Army.
Right.
The Army here.
Oh, could he
from
have been a number 2?
from
No,
from what
he's
from what
going to
he's
be the number 2.
from what
He's
he's
going
shown
to
in
be the number 2.
from what he's shown in preseason so far, and not trying to toot a horn because I'm not trying to make predictions about him at the moment. But from right now, what he's shown in preseason, I can see him making 50 catches, getting 700 yards. As long as he's healthy, I can see him getting the numbers because our quarterback is comfortable throwing him the ball and he's comfortable with making plays for this quarterback. The same wide receiver that we're discussing right now in the screen game that we watched last night didn't do well in one-on-one situations in the first game, didn't do well. So what place does he fit on the Eagles when they're going to need him to get separation and they're going to need him to run screens in their offense? That's what Zacchaeus and that's what Watkins did in certain situations. Devontae Smith is going to be a middle of the field dig type of route guy, maybe a slant here
I
and
think
there.
that's going to be
Brown is going to
Doctson is going to be the middle of the field dig type.
no,
And Devontae Smith is going to
no.
be the
I don't think you take away the touches from Smith or diminish his role when he's already proven that he would be a number 1 receiver if you did not have Brown. We can all argue that that's probably a fact that if AJ Brown wasn't there, Devontae Smith would be their starting would be their number 1 receiver. I don't see them changing his role to diminish his role to bring up a role for Doctson when they needed a third. They were going to have Devontae Parker in that role. That was I didn't even know how that was going to work with Devontae Parker because he's not a screen receiver. So they would have had to have a 4th receiver or a smaller guy come in and do that. So Dotson's now fitting that role, but you now take away the jump ball ability that Parker was going to have because that's a 6'3" receiver. So now having a guy that's 5'8" or 5'11".
I mean, I get it. But still, I still think he has potential. I still think you never know how these offenses play out. I think over the year, I think that Kellen Moore normally has big stats. Now, last year he didn't with the Chargers, but when he was in Dallas in the NFC East, he used to have big stats. His receivers did well. His tight end did well. His running back did well. So I think it's a potential that Jahan Doctson could do well out in Philly. And I'm with Big Son. I do think this is going to come back to haunt us. I'm not trying to put that in the air, but it's come back to haunt this fan base for doing stuff like this too many times for me to believe that it won't happen again. So you trade these people. The trading him to Philly part is the most.
The last time it happened to us like this, now we didn't give them this player. You know what I'm saying? But when Alpha went to Dallas and when he was with the Giants, he ate us
Landon
alive
Collins.
because
Landon
we did
Collins.
not give him that contract that we supposed to, He ate us alive every time he seen us after that.
Brandon Collins.
Landon Collins ain't do nothing to us.
Yes, he did. He had an
What?
interception against us.
That
Oh
was the
my
one
god.
game last year or the
No,
year
in
before last.
the year that 8-1 season, we went 8. If we would have beat the Giants in either of those games, we would have been in the playoffs.
Oh, you
Landon
said
Collins,
Landon Collins. My bad. Yeah. No.
yeah,
That was a bad trade though. That was
yeah,
a
yeah,
bad trade. And
yeah.
Landon Collins, outside of anything, was playing one of his best seasons of his entire career before we
Right,
traded him. Doctson
right,
has not done that. Like
right.
that's what I'm saying. If Doctson did better his second year than he did his first year, I would completely agree with y'all because I would still base it on the potential of what he could have did with a better quarterback. At the
But
number 2 receiver, you have to be able to block. I believe we're going to run the ball far more than we did the year before. And that's a hard matchup for Jahan Doctson to be matched up to try to block. And guess what? If you got to take him out to put somebody in the game and then put him somewhere else and line him up, you're going to give away that you're running the ball when he's not in the game. That's just a recipe for
was it
a bad situation.
wasn't we running the ball a lot more under Scott Turner?
Say again. Under
Wasn't we
Scott
running
Turner.
the ball a lot more under Scott Turner? And
Yes,
that was
but
his first season with all the production that he had.
Curtis Samuels is a bigger wide receiver. He's almost 200 pounds, if not 200 pounds, like Debo is. And he's a blocker. He's been a blocker since he was in Carolina. That was one of his strengths on why he was a good wide receiver. Jahan
No,
Doctson was a slot in his first year.
I'm not taking that away from him. Not at all. I'm just saying the first year, North Sun was running
Yes.
the offense is the
Yes.
first year that he had all of that production. So what I'm
Yes.
saying is I'm not really going to slight him that much for last year. One tank season. You
No,
didn't
he
have
was dropping the
nobody out
ball.
there really, huh?
No. I can go with the tank season on certain players. On Sam Howell, even though I argue it, I'll give you that on that
Why
because
you why you
I,
can't go why you can't go with that on him when Sam Howell was overthrowing
because
that man as well?
no, he look at his drops. The overthrows, I'll take
We did. We went back and looked at his drops. We
his
went back and
drops.
looked at his
His
drops.
drops are not a part of the tank. His drops are bad. Those drops are on him. Overthrowing him, not
Drops
seeing him
and
when he open.
a quarterback that can actually get you the ball and fit in the right spot. We were just talking about that. That makes a lot of difference
Big
too.
sign. He wasn't making turnaround catches and dropping the ball. He was missing direct passes that would hit both of his hands, and he was dropping the ball. The
No,
overthrows. I'm saying the overthrows and the plays where he's not seen or not thrown to, like 13 was last night. I'll give that to the tank season. When you get the ball thrown to you and you're open and you beat your man and you drop the ball, I'm not going to take that on the tank. And if I do take that on the tank, I don't want him on my team because he's going to listen to somebody tell him not to catch the ball to not win. That's also something else if you're going to say that that's the case, yes, that he shouldn't be on the team. If you're going to take a bribe or take a bid that you shouldn't catch the ball so we can get a better record, I don't want you on my team for that. Just as much as I don't want Josh Harris if he's trying to tank on purpose. I won't defend him if we have a bad record and it looks like we're doing things that we did last year. If we're losing games and we competing, I'll argue that fact. But if it looks like we're losing games to tank for a draft pick or something like that, I'm going to agree totally with Ro. The same thing I said when he brought this up. I said, I'm not going with that until I see what's on the field. When I see what's on the field and it looks
no,
like a tank and it plays like a tank, I'm going to say, all right, Ro, maybe we need to put up a petition to get him out because now what you're saying, those conflicts of interest are evident. It's not something that we can maybe make a mystique or a guess about. They're evident things that we have factors on, and you've had this argument that I would say that's been on our podcast. So I would have to second the argument in that particular order. But right now, the NFL does not play friends and favorites. It's not a hating community with LeBrons that we have in the NBA where everybody is friends. The NFL moves in business a different way than they did 15 to 20 years ago. Signing somebody from a rival is not as awkward as it would be 20, 30 years ago. The Steelers and somebody else, the Browns, I think, made a trade with each other in the last 2 seasons. And it's been the first time that happened since 1968. So, yes, they don't do that as often, or they don't do that really at all a lot of the times, bro. But in the last few seasons, what I've said about football is just different than what it was. Everybody doesn't. There are certain owners and certain teams that may dislike each other to a point where they won't do business with each other. But it's just not as common as it was a few years ago. I do agree that you do not try to make, especially with Devontae Parker retiring. I thought that was a blow to the Eagles as well as taking players from the Cowboys. But if you've taken that many players from another team, that many coaches from another team, from one of your division rivals, then it's okay to do business with another division rival. I'm just saying that it is, and I don't like it. I'm not saying that I like it or I agree with it, but in terms of business and how it's done today, it's not as surprising to me as it would have been 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I probably would have been livid. Now I'm just upset that it's with the Eagles, but I'm not necessarily that mad because I understand football. And imagine how many people are going to pick Jahan Dotson on your fantasy football list for scoring or getting a high ranking in points and stuff like that. It's just it may work because it's unseeable per se. So maybe that works in a betting angle, but I just don't necessarily see it being a heavy production that's more than what it was while he was here, or to a point where he now becomes a focal point in the Philadelphia Eagles offense, especially early on in the year now that he has to learn another maybe 8 to 10 iterations of an offense before he even gets strong playing time.
He won't be a focal point, but what I'm saying is that even if he's not a focal point, right?
So
If
you
he gets
traded a player that's not a focal point that was a focal point in your offense. I think that's a win for your trading aspect. If he was a focal point in your offense or was asked to be one, and he's going to Philly to not be a focal point, I don't know how you feel like you lost the trade.
Well, I feel like we lost the trade only because it's in our division and we don't know. Like it's not like we traded a player that we know, like Mitchell Tinsley, right? So if we traded Tinsley, nobody cares. You know what I mean? No offense to Tinsley. I think that he might end up panning out to be an okay player, but nobody cares at that point. It's the fact
So
that
what if you trade Tinsley and Tinsley becomes a star because of injury? Like, are you upset
then
because
you
you
still
traded
mad.
Tinsley to the Eagles?
No, you're still mad because he became a star, but you're
No,
not
you.
mad.
So,
But you're not mad. Like think about it. Desmond Howard, right? Heisman Trophy winner and all this. He didn't necessarily pan out with us. He goes to Green Bay, becomes a Super Bowl MVP, and we all sitting there like, damn, why he didn't do that with us? He had decent time with us, but he
But
didn't
that's
pan
how
out.
it historically happens
And,
with us.
but I would say this: people were still mad, even though he wasn't panning out with us exactly.
I mean, okay. People view the game a different way, and I guess what? In the moment, I can completely understand. You
Yeah,
feel like that you got talent, and somebody else gets them and make the most of them. But
yeah,
people also often forget the fact that there's coaching styles. There's
yeah,
maybe your team is not as good as the team that went to the Super Bowl, and they just needed a returner. Like
yeah,
it's you're not look like people don't look at certain things. And again, as a fan, I can understand the in the moment thing. So again, the shock of the in the moment is going to be immediately not that you traded Jahan Dotson. It's going to be first and foremost that you traded it to the Eagles. So
yeah,
again, as I said, I completely agree with you guys on that. But I'm basing it, my opinion off of the fact that the Eagles run a particular offense and have for the last 2 seasons. I don't see them making an adjustment to their offense to make sure that the Redskins pay that we got a
no,
third. I mean, a third. Third round receiver. I mean, a
no,
third pick. Gave up a third pick for a receiver.
I don't see that happening either. I would say that I don't. If he gives them the production of a rookie season, Jahan Dotson, right? Let's say he gives him 7 touchdowns. Let's say he gives him like 600 yards. I mean, for us, those 7 touchdowns more than likely going to come in the game that we're playing against them. So that's what I don't want. You get what I'm saying? Like that's going to be the week that he's ready to show up. He's ready to play. He's ready to go rock or whatever the case may be.
So
That's
he's
what I
shown you
don't.
that he could
If
beat a fade route. Has he shown you
um
that he can run a fade route? Because that's
yes,
the only route my cornerbacks look like they really really bad against. At least
yeah. Now
the
don't get me
starters.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that that's what I don't want. Now I'm with you in the sense of we didn't give up a whole lot. I mean, a third round pick is okay. The seventh round pick is not really a big deal to me unless we can turn that seventh round into maybe a fifth round. You know what I mean? With maybe another trade. But I just feel like it was a bad trade because we didn't go get another receiver. You know what I mean? I would have loved. I like Luke McCaffrey. I think he's going to pan out pretty well. I like, I like what I've seen from Zacchaeus this so far. So it's certain players that I do like, but we didn't go get a solidified number two. If we were going to trade Jahan Dotson, we should have traded for Brandon Ayuk, in my
We
opinion.
still we still have a number two that only got one or two snaps last game, or maybe one or two drives last game, because he's still learning the alliteration of the offense, which is a big receiver who got a penalty on his only target, which is Martavius Bryant.
Mm, I'm not sold that Bryant is going to be,
I'm
in
about
my
to go look up. I'm
in
about
my
to go
opinion,
look up Martavius Bryant's stats in the NFL
in my
because
opinion,
these
just
are be stats that are
he
be
hasn't
stats
played.
from.
I'm just saying he hasn't played real solidified football in about 2 years. So Jahan Dotson's only been in the league 2 years. So I don't want to replace somebody that hasn't played for 2 years for somebody that's been in the league for 2 years. I don't necessarily love that. Like that's why I said I wish we would have used. I just think it was a bad trade because we didn't get. I feel like we could have got more out of it, but not necessarily more out of Jahan Dotson right then and there when we traded him. When we traded him for what we traded him for, it's an okay trade. But if we would have done it the smart way, I think we would have traded him during the draft and maybe drafted another guy to go along with Luke McCaffrey. Because I mean, there was a lot of receivers in this draft, and if we were going to give him up, we should have replaced him solidifiedly. Like we got rid of Curtis Samuel, which I'm not too upset about at the time. So now it's Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson, two relatively starter level players, whether you're going at the receiver 2 or the receiver 3, and we didn't replace it necessarily. So that's what I
Hold
would situation. If we're gonna get out of it early, get rid of Jahan Dotson early, trade him so we can move up in the draft, or so we can get a good number 2, or package him with a couple draft picks so we can go get Brandon Ayuk. We weren't gonna give up a first round pick for Brandon Ayuk. No, but guess what? If we can give up a third and we can give up Jahan Dotson, we replace that player. We put a player that's at a higher level than that player there in that spot, as well as get value back off of a first round pick.
Vito trying to get back in.
And I think Roe dropped off, so it's just me and you right here right now.
Oh, all right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold on real quick. So Danny said, according to Man 25, Terry number one, Dotson number two, Brown three, Crowder four, OZ five, and Luke six.
Yeah,
According to Man 25.
realistically,
Shout out to
real,
Danny for the stats.
realistically, Jahan Dotson wasn't going to be the guy that, in my opinion, right now, from what he showed in camp at least, he wasn't going to be the guy that was going to just dominate at that number 2 receiver spot. You know,
Well, I
so
mean, I beg to differ. Like the routes that they were giving the other guys, they weren't giving him.
well, this is the thing. We don't know what he showed in camp. We only know what we've seen. And don't get me wrong, I've seen some highlights of camp with Jahan Dotson. Actually, Jaden Daniels' first highlight in camp was to Jahan Dotson. To be
So
honest,
that's what I'm
it was
saying. So
that same that
why
same
weren't some of
that,
these same plays that we
hold
seen in camp out
on
of?
that same I guess training camp day. He had two highlights. He had one to Zach Ertz and he had one to Jahan Dotson. Now, maybe he's gotten those chances in camp, and maybe he didn't show what they wanted him to show. Maybe he wasn't competing at the highest level consistently. So I'm not saying that they did the wrong thing because I don't know what they seen. I don't know why they would have done it. I don't know. I just don't like the trade to I don't like the trade
To a division
in
foe that we
yeah,
got swept by.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We got
And
swept by them.
we traded the number 11 for number 16 to the Saints. The Saints took Olave. Yes, don't get me wrong. Olave is a very good player, man. I'm not mad at us for. I'm not mad at them for drafting Olave. I would have liked to draft Olave at that point. So with Jahan, I think that he was a really good player. I just don't think that he was fit for um, the offense that we were about to run. I think that they tried him out. They gave him a chance. I don't feel like they didn't give him a chance. I feel like him or De'Ami Brown was about to go. My bigger question right now is who's going to wear the number 2? Is it going to be Mike Sanders still, or did De'Ami Brown retain his number? because either Mike Sanders still or De'Ami Brown is going to go to number one, in my belief.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
if you
I'm playing with them right now. Jahan is still on the field, but I'm trying to see because I wanted to. It's just an exhibition, just to see how they look. But
yeah,
I think McCaffrey is going to do all right.
yeah,
You know, I'm throwing to him. Oh, Doctson, what a drop!
yeah. I
We
mean
talking about
McCaffrey.
drops.
McCaffrey, realistically, McCaffrey, I think could end up being a number two guy. Um, I am hoping, that he turns into a Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua type of guy. You know, not to just say from the Rams, but those are two guys that I think that McCaffrey can be similar to in our offense. If he can, he can make some plays. He can do a lot. What if Luke is better than Jahan and the coaching staff sees it, but just being quiet about it? Luke could be better. That's Danny again, but Luke could be better than Jahan. Potentially, he is better than Jahan, but this is the biggest thing. It's all about the value that you get back for the player, in my opinion. If you are going to be a team that trades a player and you drafted him at number one, and now don't get me wrong, this regime did not draft him in the first round. This regime didn't do it. The last regime did it. So that's not their player exactly, And so I get why you don't feel any certain ties to that player, especially
Yeah,
if you didn't draft them. If this not your guy, this is just somebody that was already there. Okay, so I get that value wise, they might not look at it the same way, but I would have rather them get out of this situation early. Don't wait to the last minute to try to switch up the situation. Get out of it early. If you don't have the belief in Jahan, if he's even available for trade, and you started a new regime, go ahead, jump on the ball early. You got rid of a person like Cameron Curl, and we all see Cameron Curl's talent. You know, as far as Skins fans, as far as fans of Washington football, we all seen that for over the last couple years that Cameron Curl has a whole lot of talent. He just needs to be developed a little bit, and he'll be able to do a lot of what you want a safety to do. So,
yeah,
I mean, just being real, we see Jahan has talent, but the problem is, I think that we traded him to the Eagles. I think that's everybody's issue, and I do think Luke McCaffrey potentially could be better than Jahan, but I'm not ready to say that he is better than Jahan right now. Luke McCaffrey, being a rookie, still has to prove that he can play in the NFL. I think Jahan's 11 touchdowns showed you that at bare minimum, he can play in the NFL. You know, he has 11 career touchdowns. He has over 1,100 yards. So let's say he's having around 500 yards a year, and he's having around, let's say, 5.5 touchdowns, so 5.5 touchdowns a year at a third receiver, 5 and 5, that's not necessarily bad. That's not great, but that's not bad either, And I don't want to give the Eagles that production, and 4 out of those 5 touchdowns is against us. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Even if he's just beating us, that's a
yeah.
bad thing because that's going to hurt
Because
us in the grand picture of it.
my gripe with it is also, if you look at his stats and then look at the other guys that were there at the
Yeah,
position that he's about to take over, they weren't doing nowhere near what he was doing.
yeah.
So he's going to be, even if he gets 300 or 400 yards for them, he's going to be a way step up from what the production that they were getting from from that
Well,
position anyway. First and foremost, so that's what makes them more dangerous to me. And we have to see them twice a year.
the thing is that I do take to what Vito was saying. Production wise, they're going to get similar numbers out of that spot anyway because the offense got to run. To me, the offense does not run through Smith like a lot of people think. The offense will not run through Saquon Barkley as much as people think. The offense is going to run through Brown just like it did last year. Brown had like 4 or 5 straight games, 125 yards. The offense runs through Brown. When Brown's not happy, the offense isn't producing at the highest level. So I think you got Brown first, and now that you got Saquon, you automatically throw Saquon even before Smith. So you automatically throw him before Smith, right? And so now you got Brown, then you got Saquon, and then you got Jalen Hurts, what he's going to take up, and then you got Smith, and then you got Jahan Dotson, and that's if Dallas Goedert isn't before Dotson. So Doctson is like the sixth option at best in that offense. So I do agree with what Vito was saying as far as that goes. I mean, he's not going to be able to produce but so much. Now, let's say he gets 3 passes a game. He turns one of those passes into a bomb. He turns one of those passes into a touchdown. That's going to be dangerous in that offense.
I
You know?
agree. Yeah, yeah, totally. That's what I'm saying.
So
And it might come against us.
yeah,
You
it
know.
will. Honestly, the way that the football gods usually do it, it comes against your former team. You know, it comes against your former team. But this is the one good thing I will say. John Dawson probably doesn't like the Cowboys very much, and he I think is originally from New Jersey, and I think he went to school in Pennsylvania if I'm not mistaken. So he may have some relative ties to the Eagles and to the Giants. But the Cowboys are
He's played his best game against the Giants.
yeah. So I mean, but he's from New Jersey, so that might make sense. It's closer to home, his original home. He might have more family in New York than in other places because I think his hometown is in New Jersey. So I mean, I just look at it like this is a very key point for us, and I wish we would have pulled this trigger a little earlier, and I wish we would have traded for Ayuk. Those are my
That's what I.
gripes with the trade.
So, all right. So, what I got to say to that is that one, wishes and reality are two different things. No knock to you, my brother, not at all.
Yeah,
This real stuff, realistic
yeah,
in real life, and wishes are different.
yeah.
The Ayuk trade was only going to happen if we gave up Terry McLaurin. They did. The San Francisco 49ers were not interested in anybody else. So the De'Ami Brown or the Jahan Dotson scenario wasn't going to work there. The
I
draft
mean,
pick
it
with the
depends.
Oh,
It depends on what you package them with, though, as well.
boy.
you're not listening. You're not listening to what I'm saying.
No, I do understand what you
I'm
said that
not
they was
wishing.
interested.
I'm
No,
not
no, I'm not.
wishing. I'm talking
Fellas,
about real
I
life
get
and
what
what
you're
they've
saying
offered.
that the trade offer was. I get what you're saying that it was only McLaurin.
So
That's what they was interested in.
anything else is we wishing. I'm talking about what happened,
man,
what they said was on the table and what they did
and
not agree with. There was no other package to give because they would have had one to get Ayuk in. They were interested. They pulled out because they wanted McLaurin. Which 49ers were not shaping up to do anything else. So I'm not going with any other scenario other than what I've read and what I've seen there. All right.
Yeah,
So other than that, Jahan Dotson wasn't probably looked at to be wanted by too much of anybody. This is the last week of a preseason game, which means almost everybody is locked in with who they're going to have unless there have been injuries or quote unquote last minute retirements like Devontae Parker for the Eagles. This is something that the Eagles needed, so the trade made sense for them. But they
yeah.
probably was trying to shop Jahan or Dayami for a minute and weren't getting any responses. Do y'all all know what we did in the free agency during the offseason? Do y'all know how much people revered our draft class this year? No one's intentionally trying to help the Washington football team get better.
Oh, I agree with that.
So
um,
the trades that we're talking about that could have been an option, that could have did this. Other teams have to want the same thing you guys want, and I just don't think that those options were really on the table for what they could have gotten right now.
I just seen the report. It came through as a headline, and the headline reads: NFL betting odds. Commanders favorite to land Cowboy star CeeDee Lamb. What do y'all think about that?
Not gonna happen.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, see, now people wishing and dreaming and stuff, and we're doing too much. I think it's a big, it's a expected, and I assume this reaction would happen because it's a trade to the Eagles, and I'm all cool with that. I just don't want people to get so bent up on the fact that it's not it's not McLaurin to the Eagles. McLaurin to the Eagles is a threat to Devontae Smith or the threat to Goddard or a threat even to Barkley that somebody's not going to get all of their targets because he's going to get targets. No way he would only get 50 targets and 33 catches in a season. You don't make that type of move for that. The San Francisco 49ers don't want Jahan Dotson or De'Ami Brown that may not have proven themselves yet, but they will take a McLaurin because they know what they're getting and giving up an IU with something that they know that they're getting. You don't make trades with something that you don't know what you're getting unless you use them in a role where you know what you can get and you should be able to exceed that. So what Big Son said, what you said, if Jahan Dotson can get 500 yards and 50 catches, that exceeds the role that Zacchaeus was able to do and Watkins with one player. So you give up two players or release a player and let another player go, and you sign someone like Doctson. If there's enough targets or enough balls for that, then you're able to get a better situation out of that. But just like Leo said, that's what I was trying to say. There's not enough. Football is only a one football sport. Like it's not multiple balls on the court. On the field at one time. AJ Brown's going to get 12 to 1,500 yards unless he's injured. If he's not injured, he wants to be the best receiver in football. He's arguing he should be paid more than Justin Jefferson. I told y'all a couple of seasons ago or last season about their little gripe last year and what I thought it was about. Again, before we learn some other things. And again, I cleaned that up to have a retraction for that. It wasn't between them two, but it was definitely between some players. So the locker room wasn't all the way there. But AJ Brown, aside from all of that, wants to be the best receiver in the NFC, even if not the NFC, the NFL. That's going to require 14 to 1,700 yards, especially with CeeDee Lamb having 1,700 yards the year before that. You're not going to see AJ Brown with 1,100 yards unless he's got 15 to 20 touchdowns for him to be happy. He's not going to be happy with 11. I watched him a year ago have that much and be disappointed because he didn't feel like he was getting used enough. All right? This Devontae Smith is not going to have a lesser role because that kid is absolutely unguardable. There is nobody that I've seen them play that has shut him down. And maybe I need to look further, but that kid is just a mismatch. Whenever they can't get to Brown, he's likely to be open. Goddard, another guy that the reason why they let Zach Ertz go a while ago is because he's a really, really good matchup and a really good tight end. Their offensive line is where they're going to have possible issues at because they don't have Kelsey. If their line can play well, then those guys are still going to get those same targets. Those guys are going to still get their same passes. Jahan Dotson makes his money by scoring touchdowns, in my opinion. I don't think the yards help him any different than it does here because you're still going to see around the same amount of yardage. And I don't see the Eagles, even if he is a mismatch problem, getting more yards than what he's gotten here because now you have to pay him for what he's worth off the recent season that you got. That potential of what he could do the following season is going to make him get a high dollar amount. You're not going to re-sign him then. So you essentially traded away a player that maybe you weren't going to re-sign if he didn't have a good enough season here. And the Eagles are likely not to re-sign that player. Y'all do realize that Zacchaeus and Watkins are 1-year players for them. I think Watkins had 2 years there, but he was a 4th or 5th year receiver when he first came in. I think he was drafted there. If he didn't play for the Cowboys, and I think he played with the Cowboys now, but I think he was a draft pick there and was only there because he was lower on the depth chart. But when you move up to that third spot, it's not something that the Eagles are likely to keep because they've been shuffling that spot because of how much money the other primary spots are taking up. And with the signing of Saquon Barkley, especially if he has a good year this year, letting Doctson go again if he has a good season. So it's really a win-win for us in the sense of the matter that if Doctson doesn't turn out, you got an extra draft pick. Well, you got 3 extra draft picks for him. Let's say 2 because you gave up a 5th and got 2 7ths and a 3rd. One of those 7ths you're not going to be able to trade because you just traded it for to replace the 7th that you gave up for the kicker that you signed, which I was happy about. But you got a 7th and a 3rd, or you have a 3rd, 2/3, a 3rd, and a 4th. You have other things to package with anything else to move up to get a solid second receiver if De'Ami or someone else doesn't step up to that role this
year. Yeah, they the production is just gonna, if like you say, Goddard and all of them gonna touch the ball. Barkley gonna touch the ball. Barkley gonna have to stay healthy, mainly though. going to be the main idea for Barkley to stay healthy. If Barkley can stay healthy, he can definitely run the show and do what he needs to do. And I just don't know if he's going to have 400 or 500 yards, but I know he's going to get himself some yards. That's for sure. You know. Danny said now the Eagles are going to move AJ Brown to the slot. Okay, what you mean by they gonna move him to the slot? What you think they're gonna move him to the slot and let Smith and Dotson play the
If
outside?
Dotson go, hey Danny, if Dotson goes to a outside receiver position, he is going to make the Eagles a bad selection in winning the division. I'm not saying that he can't beat anybody. What I am saying is that the NFC East, our division specifically, Giants included, our bigger cornerbacks for ourselves, even though we have to see them in action this season. But let's just say the Cowboys and the Giants have physical corners. Dotson is not a good outside receiver for us in the preseason right now, and he has not faced a number one cornerback yet. I am not saying that he can't do it in their offense. Maybe somehow or another with Brown and Smith being on the field, maybe guys don't play a lot of press coverage, so maybe they give Dotson some. Dotson some room to work, and that may be beneficial for him. With Saquon Barkley, maybe they don't need to press up because the run game might help. So I'm not saying that there's not advantages that their offense can take, but Nick Sirianni gave up play calling last year from their offensive coordinator so that he could call plays, and that's when it went down. They have Kellen Moore now. If Kellen Moore is not calling it to Nick Sirianni's liking, if
Uh yeah. He'll be more right. What's going on here? Yeah, it's gonna require some take on his half, especially if you think he gonna run that outside like that. I think his best quality me is the inside. I really use him on the inside when I use him. As a slot receiver, he became more of a threat for me. It was bigger gains and bigger strides at that point. So he was what I needed at that point. So I really respect the guy, but like I say, even though he with the Eagles, hey, big ups to him in his career, whatever he gonna do, you know, however he gonna do it, there. So I'm backstage. Leo backstage. Yeah, Leo trying to get in now. Let's see. I can't hear anything. Let me go out and come back in.
Yes, indeed. It's a lot, in my opinion. It's a lot, in my opinion. It's a lot. Can you hear me, Big Son? Oh no, no, no. I ain't. Let me get him back in. Get him back in for a second. Big, get Big Son back in. Can you hear me? Hold on, I gotta. Yes, indeed. Yes, these the Nature Sports Podcast, man. Bringing y'all, bringing y'all breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Yes, indeed.
pick that was thrown. It was caused by the pressure. So that game still lingers in my mind. What was you saying? What were you saying, bro? Oh yeah, okay. Wait till you get this line together. But yeah, like I was saying, that game still lingers in the back of my mind. Um, both of the Giants game really linger in the back of my mind because the simple fact those games were close to really all of them, but more so the Giants and the Eagles. Those were winnable games. All four of those games were winnable games. So if you we had what four wins, so you possibly would have been around that that eight that 8 game win mark, which is not good because it's no longer 8-8 seasons. So you would have been 8-9, still a losing season, not really productive. You can say, well, let's see what game we lost that we should have maybe won. Um, we played the Buccaneers, Mayfield and them. We didn't win that game if I'm correct. I got to go back and look at it, but I don't think that we beat Baker Mayfield and the guys on that one. I don't think we did. So knowing that we gotta do the groundwork and build everything up. Um, Again, as far as the wide receiver core, you could be looking at a 5-1 team when if they don't fix this problem at wide receiver. You got to fix that problem at wide receiver. You need a you need a bona fide number two, not someone per se, not someone that hasn't really had that much work at, at the spot at the position. You know, we do these things where we get rid of players and we give other players a chance to step up. Once a player really shows who they are, we get rid of them, like we did with Cam Sims. It just reminds me of that type of atmosphere. So I'm not I'm not too thrilled about it. It just sets us back on offense once more and again when we already have to worry about the depth of the offensive line. We already have to worry about how the depth is going to look with the tight end because right now on the depth chart, the unofficial depth chart, they only have Zach Ertz, Benson, and Bates. So I'm just interested to see where we go from here. So Danny said, "Hey, what if Luke is better than Jahan, and the coaching staff sees it, but is being quiet about it?" Okay. I mean, I think we spoke about this earlier. I think he is um, could be could be better than Jahan, but he is the thing about it is yet to be seen. Jahan's body of work has already been seen thus far along the way. Y'all have anything to add about that, fellas?
Um, I don't think that he's better yet, but I do think that whatever the coaching staff didn't see out of Jahan is the reason why they traded him, right? Obviously,
Um,
he might not fit into the system, so maybe Luke fits into the system better than Jahan. Not even that he's better than him, and maybe he is just better than him. And those are two options, two potential situations. But I don't know, man. I'm not gonna dwell on this too long. I know this is a new regime, and because it's a new regime, they don't have any ties to these players. They don't have any ties to these draft picks who got drafted this round or that round. I mean, you got guys like Terry McLaurin, who is a staple at this point, and they have said he's going to be a staple. From what I heard about Jonathan Allen, same thing. He's going to be a staple. We have no interest in getting rid of these people. We have no interest in going after seeking trades for these people. But I didn't hear that from Jahan. I didn't hear that about Jahan. I only really heard them pretty much say that he's coming along well and he's doing okay. And, that's not, we're going to stick with this guy, ride with this guy. That's not what that's saying. So I'm not too surprised as it is.
What you got, Ro?
Yeah, I mean, not too surprised.
All right. Okay.
Let me.
So we've been um talking about the breaking news of Jahan Dotson being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a third round pick and a seventh round pick. And the Philadelphia Eagles are the rivals of the Redskins. Washington Commanders
Can you hear me? Can you hear
slash
me now?
yeah, I'm getting
Can you hear me
feedback.
now?
Yeah,
Oh, all right, back. Go ahead.
yeah. I can hear you. But you want to go ahead? I can't hear you again.
Can I get you up now? Can I get you up
Yeah.
now?
I got you now.
All right, all right. So for me, again, y'all know I don't like it. I think it's an indication. I am very fearful right now, just to be honest. I am very fearful right now that this is going to be a tank season. I'm not predicting a tank season, but I am fearful that this could be a tank season this year. Just my opinion. I think Jahan Dotson was one of the better players. I get it. You say the numbers didn't show what Chris Olave or any of the other guys who's come out recently, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, whatever, whoever you want to say. Maybe it doesn't show that. However, I think that is because you had Carson Wentz at quarterback for 4 games in his rookie season. Last year, you had an offensive coordinator who I don't feel was the best. I'm not making excuses, but nobody really excelled under Bieniemy. So I'm not sure what they want us to do with that. However,
That was my very argument, bro. Like, because you can't sit up there and blame this man for having bad quarterback
right,
when he had better quarterback and he did better with less. It's kind of going up and down, up and down, up and down. With everything going up and down like that, it's so hard for him. He's going back and forth, trying to really find his way. I gotta play this way for that quarterback. I gotta play that way for this quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, not saying that. Oh, the a lot of times you like to say, oh well, the greats can do it. Well, maybe he's trying to be great. Maybe he ain't great yet. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give him space for that as well. So that's what my gripe was with it. My gripe
I
was
agree.
right there with it.
You do got to give him space. You do got to give him space, and that was, I mean, again, when we talk about to the Eagles, we talk about somebody going to the Eagles. It's massively messed up. Massively messed up, massively.
Yeah, man. So Just, I mean, that's big news and now, a lot of people saying that they don't think that Allen is next. I do. If you can move like that, move your drastic pieces around the board like that, and if Allen ain't next, it'll probably be Jamin. It'd be Jamin Davis. I think Jamin Davis will be next on the board because those were the three. Was Diami a first round pick, bro, or second? He was second, I think. I believe De'Ami Brown was the second round pick. Second round pick, and but I think the guys that were on the cusp were Jamin Jamin Davis, Jahan Dotson, and Forbes. That's who I believe was the last three picks. They were saying were on the cusp of being cut or traded or something. So I mean, it's not like they didn't throw it out there early. If you missed it, you missed it. But we talked about that on the show as well. I think that was on one of the major Monday shows a couple of weeks ago. No, not even a couple of weeks ago. Matter of fact, it was Workhorse last week. We talked about it on Workhorse Wednesday last week, and we brought it up because it was a report that came out about the three, and that's why I had my eye heavily on Jamin Davis to see what he was going to look like. He had a good game. He came up with a sack and a forced fumble. Came out of that sack, so I was impressed with what I seen out of Jamin Davis on that play and his play throughout the game because you got a chance to see a little bit of what he was going to look like and what they were going to have him doing. Yeah, I'm just curious because now you really, I mean, Luke could be that guy, but we don't know that Luke is that guy. He hasn't put the work in and put stats on the sheet, you know. So I don't know how they're gonna run that. I mean, I guess they're gonna have to rely on that running game to really carry him through the season. And I think
Can you hear me?
Cincinnati is gonna be kind of yeah. I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Go ahead. Now I can hear you. Come on, y'all. Yeah, I think Cincinnati is gonna play the Mike Sellers
Big Son.
role. Yeah, I can hear you now. Now you're gone again. But yeah, I believe Sanat will play the Mike Sellers type of role, with the blocking and being able to get open downfield and bully people for an extra, 8, 9 yards. So
I
with that
think we
role
might have.
being,
I think we might have
yeah, there
lost
you
Big
go.
Son. I'm not sure. I
All right,
heard him.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Still
You
on,
can
Big
hear me?
Son?
Can you hear me? I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but like I was saying, I guess we'll get Big Son back in shortly.
When the phone call came through, did it shut? Did it
So,
knock
like
you
I was
off?
saying, for me personally, I think it's just not. I think Josh Harris is a mole, and y'all know I done said that. I said I'm just the conflict of interest, the relationships with Philly. This is not the Philadelphia Eagles. Period. This is not the Washington Eagles. This is not any of those things that Josh Hurst is trying to make it out to be. The Eagles are our rivals, not our friends. What is wrong with him? And if you couldn't separate friendship from rival, you should not be owning this team. We don't like the Eagles. Are you crazy? We do not like the Eagles by any stretch of the imagination. So for all of this Eagle schmooging going on around here, it needs to stop, in my opinion. And if you can't separate those things, then you need to go, Mr. Harris. We don't need you as the owner. If you cannot separate your allegiance to the Philadelphia Eagles. Got Big Son back in the building. Can you hear me, Big Son?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Bet. Yeah, I got you. All right, yeah. So if you can't separate your allegiance to the Philadelphia Eagles, then I'm afraid, Josh Hurst, this ain't the right team for you. Because we don't like the Eagles. We don't give a damn what else you own outside of us, too. That's another thing. You think because you own the Philadelphia, if this was Dan Snyder and he was kept trading with the Eagles repeatedly, and then he went out and bought, let's take Daniel Snyder. It's a good analogy. I'm gonna rephrase this whole thing. If Daniel Snyder went out and bought the Philadelphia Eagles, and then afterwards he just started making all these trades. Sorry, not Eagles. If he bought the Philadelphia 76ers. Sorry, trying to rephrase it. Excuse me. If Daniel Snyder bought the Philadelphia 76ers and he all of a sudden started repeatedly trading with the Philadelphia Eagles, we would have a problem with it. I think we've had problems with Snyder that was way less than this, to be honest. It had nothing, most of the problems with Snyder really had nothing to do with football. Most of them really had nothing to do with football. It was the culture. Football. In my opinion. Whether Jahan Doctson is good or bad, y'all outraged that this owner continues to try to empower the Philadelphia Eagles. They got the player, we got the picks. So it's some form of empowerment for them that we didn't receive here. All of these picks, no offense to them, all of these extra picks, this, that, and the other. You traded Sam Howell for picks. He looks amazing in Seattle, mind you. I just think there's some disconnect.
I think the disconnect is that the players that they picked by, Ron Rivera are not the players that they necessarily want. Even if these players are good, but there's just some things that you do not do that come back to haunt you. And he's going to score a touchdown or two against us when he plays. Just know
I agree.
That. Just know that. Just know that it's going to come back to haunt us.
I agree.
If he don't do nothing all season, when he play us, it's going to be something.
I agree. Totally. I think you are 1,000,000% right. I think you are 1,000,000% right. I think when we get, like you just said, when he gets against us, boy, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. That's why I say I don't even understand this move at all. I do understand if you wanted to trade him, you could trade whoever you want to trade. You can trade Jaden Daniels if you want to. Trade whoever you want to trade. But that's the same thing as trading Jaden Daniels to the Chargers and trading Jaden Daniels to the Eagles.
Yeah. It's just
You just
more.
make
It's
that
just morally wrong. Whatever people doing it today, that's like saying somebody gonna take a hook of the sugar booger dugger. And so you gonna take a
right,
hook of the sugar booger dugger, so I'm gonna go over there and do it with you. Like, nah. That don't mean it's cool. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Nah, bro,
right.
I ain't about to get
Because they
down like
doing it
that.
today.
You know, I'm gonna get
That's
right
that's
with him
because they
myself. I'm not
doing it
about to do it
today.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because they doing it today is not good enough for me. You know, I just don't think. And
Yeah.
another thing is, no offense to Josh Hurst, I think it's a little disrespectful to the Washington fan base. You should be trying to shy away from the Eagles as far as you could possibly get, just so we won't think that this is what you want.
Yeah.
It's very disrespectful.
Mm-hmm. In
Y'all
several
can say what
ways,
y'all
though.
want. It's very disrespectful.
In several ways, though. You know, it's wrong, man.
I mean,
It's just that's a slap in the face to the organization. You know, as bad as Snyder was, Snyder ain't never pulled no move like that.
this year. No, no, no. Snyder would never. Because he hated the Eagles and all them other people probably like we did. Snyder would never.
If
I
I
gotta
if I
respect
do
that
a
much
if
about
I do a
Snyder.
if I do a deal with the Eagles, best believe it's gonna be a back door. You hear me? I'm gonna come out
Yeah,
on the better side of this than you are.
right, right.
So that third round pick and that seventh round pick you got, it better daggone sure bring return to this team.
Man,
Both
I
of
don't
them. Both of them.
honestly, I don't think that's possible. Not to bring, they probably bring returns for the team, right? No, I'm not gonna say that. I don't think it's possible they're gonna outdo Jahan Dotson in this because he has extra motivation. They don't. They're just gonna be drafted players. They don't know where those picks came from. They don't know how we receive those picks when they get drafted. They don't care either. Jahan Dotson cares how he was traded and why he was traded. And to be traded in a division is disrespectful to him. Oh, we don't think you're gonna do nothing. Go ahead, go to the Eagles. We don't care. I mean, in so many levels, it is an amateur move at best for an amateur owner.
Yeah, especially with him
And
having a
sad.
78 overall. You know what I'm saying? And Diami only having
Yeah,
like a 75, 74.
yeah. It is the move
That's
of an
notches up.
amateur.
We forget he was a number one in college. He forgot how to be a number one because they're trying to make him be something he's not.
Right,
It's
right,
the trickery of the mind.
right,
It's the way the mind
right.
muscle works. You know?
I think he's good. I'm sorry. I think he's good. I think when he catches the ball, he tucks it in one hand. That's unique to him. He got things he does that's unique to him. So I think this was a massive mistake. Massive mistake. And I don't think that you're going to get more value. We're not going to get more value, in my opinion, and y'all can get mad at me saying this. I don't care. We're not going to get more value than the Eagles here because of the extra motivation. It's just not going to happen.
Hmm.
It's just not going to happen. We're not going to get more. We're not going to get more value than them. Value out of this. Y'all disrespected that man. Y'all
Big time.
disrespected that man. Let's be clear about that. And the Eagles going to play on that. You think they ain't going to play on that?
Why wouldn't they? They got every reason to.
Come on, y'all. It's an amateur move. And it's because y'all, I believe Josh Hurst is a mole for the Philadelphia Eagles. He don't give a damn about what he thought. If he gave a damn about what we thought, he would have never did it. If they gave a damn about what we thought, they wouldn't have traded our first round of the first one of our first round picks went to the Eagles. We're stockpiling picks that help the Eagles, in my opinion. That's why we need all them picks so we can help the Eagles a little bit. Because guess what? If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, that helps Josh Harris. Let's be clear about that.
Jahan.
Huh.
And Jahan.
And Jahan. But even outside of Jahan, that helps Josh Harris because he owns the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia 76ers. So everybody's going to go and then buy Sixers gear and have this whole city thing, whatever it is going on. So he makes money off the Eagles too. That's the same fan base. We just talked about this earlier. Same fan base. Eagles 76ers probably got a lot of the same fans. You want your fans happy.
They're doing it to attack the Redskins and really break them down.
Yeah.
All the way. Ground zero.
I totally agree.
They won a 9-11. You know what I'm saying? They won a 9/11. They want everything to cave and fall.
I totally agree.
And it's sad that you go to lengths that you go to do that to an organization.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because this is wild. This is wild. This is one of the wildest things that, trade-wise, I think this might be, for me, and everybody can say what they want. However y'all want to say it, fine. Say what you want. This is the worst trade in Redskins history. Even worse than the RG3 trade. The trade that gave us the number 2 pick to bring RG3 here with the Rams. I feel like this one is worse than that because of who you traded with.
Yeah.
Y'all can get mad at me for saying it. I don't care. Y'all can say, oh, no, it's not this, that, and the other. I get you. Say it all you want. To me, it's the worst trade in Redskins history. It's disgusting. The thought of this trade is disgusting. With the Philadelphia, you just empowered the Philadelphia Eagles, and you didn't even get a player back? What the hell is this? What's going on here? Oh, you own the Philadelphia 76ers too? Oh, okay. Is this rocket science?
I'm going to say the worst trade in history is a sweating young joints to me.
There you go. Yep. There you go. There you go. Shock and awe.
Cause what you got, a 3rd round pick for Chase?
3rd round pick.
And a 2nd round pick.
No. I think you got I think a 3rd and a 2nd, something like that. Terrible, man. Yeah, I know it's terrible when we had to go break a news.
But even with that one, right, when you think about it, even with that one, it was very untimely, just like this.
Yeah.
Nobody said, oh, he had a bad game. He had, you know what I'm saying? Even the film that we watched, I'm thinking, like, you got to think about the player you got. Okay, yeah, you got blocked for a screen. Okay, we're talking about Jahan Doctson, though. That's not a job he should have.
Right.
So I think they were wrong in doing that in the first place. Put him in that position. That was bad coaching. He's even though you have your Hines Wards, your Steve Smiths, these guys are way stockier than him. Got way more muscle mass than he does. He's not in that weight class. So I wouldn't even, dare put him up against these guys. He's not. So I wouldn't put him up against nobody to be blocking for a screenplay. If you're gonna do that, he's playing a slot anyway. He was on the outside. He's a slot man. So it was obvious that something was going on. Anyway. So with that being said, knowing that he's a slot man, you have to cater to that. That's where he works out at and can get you 500, maybe 600 yards. That's what you have to do. That's how you have to bring it. It can't be no other way. It can't be uh no in between. It has to be just that. See what I'm saying? And if you think in the long haul of things, him and McLaurin being together, if I don't know what type of relationship they had, but if I was Dotson, I would have been working up under McLaurin and working out with him and building a bond and trying to figure out how it is that he does what he does and how is it that he's that good, you know. Oh, okay. Danny said we traded 11, number 11, the pick to the Saints, which is Olave for 16. So the Saints got Olave, who has been essentially not bad. He's been better if you wanna quote it in the right direction. He's been better than Dotson, you know. So he's had a better run in the league than Dotson right now thus far, I believe. His name rings more of a bell than Jahan Dotson's. You hear Olave's name, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's that boy has been putting in that work, you know. So I really like that. Also, it just goes back to bad business for me. At the end of the day, all bad business. Um, um, all bad business. We're gonna say all bad business makes for bad reviews. Bad reviews, nothing, no good reviews is going to come out of this. You got bad business, you're going to get some bad reviews. And this move right here was just bad for business. Thanks a lot, Danny, for commenting. Once again, guys, this is the Nature Sports Network show. We are breaking the bank right here with this one. This breaking news of Jahan Dotson being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a third round pick and a seventh round pick in this year's coming draft. To the fans out there listening and watching and hearing, we just want to know what y'all think out there. Danny has been with us pretty much the whole show, giving us his breakdown, his comments, showing his thoughts out there. So we'd like to hear from all you guys as well. Like I said, thanks a lot, Danny, for tuning in with us and shining your light on um on today's agenda. Also, I like to say that with the season approaching and the game about to be played Sunday, I want you guys to pay close attention now to the morale of the guys. One, I want you also to pay close attention to the play of the quarterbacks that'll be in there, giving their all and trying to make a shot for a name for themselves, because you're gonna have Hartman back. Hartman is going to be back. Driscoll is going to play, and McSorley is going to play. I think McSorley is going to have a decent game. Y'all seen McSorley last week as we watched the game film with on Workhorse yesterday. McSorley come in and he has a little bit of he's Heineke-ish. He will break out the pocket and will scramble and throw a dart or throw a dime. So it can be done. The guy just got to step up to the plate and do what he needs to do to win Because like Ro was saying, to Ro's point, you don't want to go in this new season and this new path with a loss. Who wants to do that? Why would you want to go and move on and have a loss? That's crazy. Yeah, so moving forward, they would need to put themselves in a better position than what they put themselves in today, especially with a rival. That's not clean cut. That's not telling me that you're moving in a direction to prepare yourself for Super Bowls. It's just not. It doesn't scream that. It doesn't look like it. And at the end of the day, like I said again, bad business brings bad reviews. You're going to get bad reviews because it's not going to be good outcome, especially if they don't fix that problem right now. I going to go get a wide receiver that can fill that void that you just left. So, with that being said, this is your boy Big Son. I am signing out. Don't forget to follow us on all platforms. Instagram, follow us on The Nature DC. The Nature DC on Instagram. On YouTube, it's Studio Runners. On X, it's Studio Runners. X is Twitter. If y'all guys don't know, formerly known as Twitter is X. Um, and Facebook is Studio Runners. So again, don't forget The Nature DC on Instagram, guys. The Nature DC on Instagram is what you follow us on, and on all the rest of the platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and X. Um, Formerly known as Twitter, is Studio Runners. So thank you guys for following with us and tuning in. Ro, you got any final thoughts you'd like to give? I can't hear you, Ro. Yeah, I still can't hear. Let's see. Yeah, I can see you, bro. I still can't hear you though. Let's see if you can fix that broadcast. Yeah, but I'm signing off. That's my final thoughts. I think that um Harris was dead wrong, portrayed that man to the rival like that. And I think furthermore he needs to um not do any more drastic moves like that to a team that's trying to take themselves to a higher plank in the league and actually win some games. Can't win no games giving away valuable pieces. So with that being said, like I said, I'm signing out. It's your boy Big Son. Um, Trying to get Ro in here right now so he can give his final thought as well.
Yeah,
Can you hear
yeah. I
me?
know. I clicked off. Yeah, I got you. I clicked off. Yeah. No, like I was saying, man. We're gonna make sure that throughout the year we're bringing you guys live in-game specials and live out-of-game specials. This would be an out-of-game special. Breaking news story: Jahan Doctson traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, I'm gonna thank Danny, man. I want to make sure. I've been saying Donnie the whole time. Danny, my bad, Danny. I want to thank Danny for coming through and showing us some love today. Y'all know y'all saw his emblem on the screen. I wish I would have asked him what was his hashtag and everything. If y'all want to follow Danny, man, make sure y'all do that on whatever platform Danny's on. If you know Danny. Because we definitely appreciate the love, man. Come on through again, Danny, man. Rock with us this season. We're gonna be giving y'all
Yes,
that
sir.
good
Appreciate the
info.
love, Danny.
Yeah. Make sure you rock with us, man. Y'all, whoever else, y'all want to comment, chime in, do what you got to do, because we're gonna be here bringing you live updates, game for game, score for score. Y'all know what it is. Score the fight this Saturday. We will have Floyd Mayweather. He is fighting John Gotti Jr. or John Gotti the third. Sorry, John Gotti the third. So that'll be an exciting thing going on this weekend here on the Nature Sports Podcast. So this was final thoughts, right? You still there, big son?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is final thoughts.
Okay,
Your
yeah,
final
final
take
thoughts. So
on what you think. Like I said, man, I don't. It's bad business. You get bad reviews, and
that's real.
what you're doing
That's
right
real.
now is bad for business. You're going to get bad reviews from this fan base. It's not a
What's
good
your
look.
grade? Final grade. What you get the final grade? Final grade.
Waste management. You can take that to the waste management too.
Yeah,
Take it straight to
that's
the
where I'm
trash
at too.
factory because it's trash. All of it is trash. It's nothing that you can tell me is going to come good out of this.
Yeah. Fluckery. That's what it is. That's what you got. Fluckery.
Because he's gonna
That's what the grade is.
he's gonna
Fluckery.
get way better production than what was Zacchaeus and that other guy that Quez Watkins was there. He's gonna get better.
Right.
He's gonna even if it's 125 or 150 yards, he's gonna get more production than they gave.
He gonna hit us for
That's for
200.
sure.
I think he gonna hit us for 200 this year. Doctson. I think Doctson will hit us for 203 touchdowns.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And if it happens, only thing I'm asking is if any of this stuff goes down. This is my final thought too. But my grade is fluckery, straight fluckery all across the board. F on this whole thing. But my thing is this Redskins fan base. The same way you were for Adam Peters and Adam Peters. I heard Adam Peters over and over again. If things don't work out and when negative thing, and we ain't saying it's negative, we don't know how this gonna play out, right? I'm saying it's negative. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm saying it's negative because I think Josh Hurst is tanking. That's just my thought process right now, based on how it looks. It looks like you're tanking. So to me, even with the Jay Daniels draft, still could be tanking. I don't know what you're doing because I wouldn't have traded him. Period. Anyway,
that's funny money trading him. It's very funny money trading him. I'm gonna tell you why. That's like winning 2,500 at the casino and betting it all back. Then you're gonna win again. That's funny money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not gonna happen like that. That rarely ever happens, and it's not gonna happen like that.
Right. So that's why I'm not sure about this. I don't like it. It's fluckery all around the board. I think Josh Hurst has. I think we should just make sure that we give the negative to the negative. The same way y'all felt this was all positive, and y'all were all in. Adam Peters is the greatest. Adam Peters is this. Adam Peters is that. That's all we heard all season. Oh, the great Washington will be back because Adam Peters is making all these moves. I didn't like the Sam Howell trade either. If you remember, Big Son, I didn't like the Sam Howell trade either. So, again, if these guys go elsewhere and play their behinds off while we sitting here continuing to struggle, please keep the same energy in regards to Adam Peters. Please keep the same energy. That is all I ask. Y'all were all for him. Make sure you all against him if these moves turned out to be whack and the season turned out to be a bust. I give him 2 years. If he is busting it, we have 2 more tank seasons, he gonna have to go. And Josh Hurst might have to go right along with him because I'm gonna think it's on purpose. So that's my final thought, man. That's my final thought. We are here
Okay,
on the
cool.
Nature Sport Podcast, man. Y'all know what we do. So that's my final thought. We giving it to you only how we can give it to you.
Okay, so we're signing off right now. Like you say,
Yes,
you got
indeed.
Score the Fight Saturday. In 2 weeks exact. Big Son will be airing his show. Big Son No Shade. Finally, I know y'all been waiting. I keep saying it. It's finally gonna be coming out though. So y'all look out for that show as well, and we're gonna catch y'all on the next one.
Yes, indeed. Oh yeah, Sunday's the Redskin game, man. Final preseason game of the season.
Oh
Make
yeah,
sure
yeah,
y'all tune
yeah.
in with us. 8 o'clock. Final preseason game of the season. Just I just want to make sure we threw that out there.
And
All
it's the
right,
Battle of the
signing off,
Beltway. If y'all
man.
don't know, Battle of the Beltway. Lamar Jackson, Henry, I'm coming to town.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, all right, we're gonna sign off. This is Nation Sports Podcast. See y'all Saturday for Score the Fight.
Yes, sir.